Right now, somewhere deep in the cosmos, time may be running out. Not in a metaphorical sense. You won't suddenly find your clock skipping, but in a fundamental, physical sense. Some scientists suggest that the universe itself could be heading toward a state where the familiar arrow of time, the relentless flow from past to future, might stop entirely. Imagine waking up one morning, and every ticking second suddenly loses meaning, the past, present, and future collapsing into something unrecognizable. It's terrifying, but also strangely fascinating, like discovering your favorite TV series is being rewritten mid-season, and you're powerless to pause or skip to the good part. And humor sneaks in because, frankly, humans have been obsessing over deadlines for centuries, and the universe might be thinking, "Cute, you thought your appointments mattered." The arrow of time, as physicists call it, is closely tied to entropy, the measure of disorder in a system. Everything we see, from ice cubes melting to stars burning, depends on entropy increasing. That gradual march toward disorder is what gives time its direction. But here's the twist. The laws of physics at the microscopic level don't actually care about direction. Particles interact, collide, and evolve according to rules that work just as well forward as backward. The arrow of time isn't written into the universe at the fundamental level. It's an emergent property, a consequence of statistical patterns. Humor enters naturally. All those time is money memes suddenly feel like a bad joke played by the cosmos. Time is essentially a habit, a convention, not a law. Now, this isn't just idle speculation. Cosmologists studying the expansion of the universe have noticed something strange. The universe is not only expanding, it's accelerating. Galaxies are moving apart faster and faster, driven by the mysterious force we call dark energy. If this expansion continues indefinitely, the universe will reach a point where stars burn out, galaxies drift beyond each other's reach, and entropy hits an ultimate ceiling. Energy will be evenly spread out, motion will slow, and the arrow of time, the thing that gives sequence to everything, may effectively vanish. Humor sneaks in here too. Imagine the universe trying to tell us, "Sorry, humans, your rush hour traffic and Netflix binges are officially meaningless." But what does it mean for time itself to end? We usually think of endings as moments on a timeline, but in this context, it's subtler and more disturbing. Without the arrow of time, cause and effect lose their footing. Events no longer lead to consequences in a predictable order. Clocks may still tick, but ticking becomes purely cosmetic, a human artifact clinging to a concept the cosmos has quietly abandoned. Humorously, this could explain why you feel like Mondays drag and weekends fly. The universe isn't interested in your perception of sequence, and never has been. Even more unsettling is the psychological aspect. Humans are deeply dependent on the sense of time. Memory, planning, ambition, regret, they all hinge on a flowing timeline. If time stops, the narrative of life itself starts to unravel. Every what if, and if only suddenly floats untethered, without grounding in a linear reality. Humor emerges again because the universe is basically handing us an impossible existential joke. All the stress about schedules, aging, and deadlines may be entirely unnecessary, yet here we are, still panicking about missing trains and paying bills. Quantum physics adds another layer of weirdness. At fundamental scales, particles do not have a preferred direction of time. They can move forward or backward in equations, and phenomena like entanglement or retrocausality suggest that, at least in principle, the universe could operate without a strict timeline. If the macroscopic universe eventually mirrors this timeless behavior due to entropy reaching its maximum, the familiar flow of seconds and minutes could cease. Humorously, it would be like trying to play Monopoly without turns, rules, or order. All chaos, but in an incomprehensibly elegant way. And yet, we experience time as irreversible because of probability. A dropped cup shatters, a candle burns, ice melts, and that broken vase doesn't spontaneously reassemble. That's entropy doing its job. But if entropy ever reaches a final equilibrium, where everything is uniformly spread and no further change occurs, there's no next moment. No cause and effect, no ticking, no deadlines. Humor creeps in again. It's as if the universe is the ultimate micromanager, letting entropy run amok for billions of years just to finally hit pause and leave us all hanging. From a cosmological perspective, this scenario is sometimes called the heat death of the universe. Stars fade, black holes evaporate, galaxies drift apart, and matter reaches a state of maximum disorder. No energy gradients exist to fuel change, and without change, time loses its operational meaning. And humor, inevitably, becomes part of the story. Humans stressing over traffic, taxes, and online arguments. None of it matters when entropy eventually calls timeout on the entire cosmos. Philosophically, the implications are profound. Time is not just a feature of the universe. It's the scaffold on which meaning, memory, and experience are built. If the arrow of time ceases, then notions of causality, morality, and consequence become tenuous. Humor sneaks in because we're obsessed with trying to impose order, planning for decades, and worrying about deadlines, while the universe is quietly heading toward a state where none of that matters. Every email you've agonized over, every spilled coffee, every social faux pas, all ultimately insignificant in the grand temporal collapse. Yet there's a strange beauty in this. A universe without time would be a universe without regret, without missed opportunities, without the pressure of running out of it. Every moment would exist in a kind of static perfection. Humor sneaks in again because humans would probably still panic, complain, and obsess over trivialities. Our perception of urgency is hardwired, after all. The universe may stop caring about time, but we, delightfully, would not. Finally, contemplating the end of time forces us to confront our place in the cosmos. Our lives, brief and sequenced as they feel, exist within a reality that may eventually discard the sequence entirely. Humor remains a valuable tool. It allows us to navigate absurdity, marvel at paradoxes, and appreciate the fleeting flow of experience, even as the universe hints that flow may be temporary. Spilled coffee, traffic jams, awkward conversations, they are the comedy of human life, set against a cosmic backdrop where even the concept of next may cease to exist. Now that we've seen how the arrow of time is linked to entropy and the universe's expansion, it's time to explore what it truly means for time to approach an end. We're not talking about the end of hours, minutes, or deadlines. That would be wonderful, by the way, but the fading of time as a fundamental property of reality. In physics, time's passage is tied to change, to energy gradients, to cause and effect. If the universe reaches a point where these gradients vanish, the familiar flow of time collapses. Imagine a world where nothing progresses, where events no longer follow one another. Humor sneaks in because, to humans, this would feel absurd. All the nagging worries over traffic, work, and toast that burns while you're checking your email? Suddenly, cosmic irrelevance becomes comedic gold. Entropy is the engine driving this process. It's the measure of disorder, the reason why ice melts, fires burn, and why your socks mysteriously vanish in the laundry. At a cosmic scale, entropy is the arrow pointing from the past toward the future. But as the universe expands and energy spreads thinner and thinner, entropy approaches a maximum limit. At this extreme, no more usable energy exists to fuel change. Stars can no longer fuse, black holes slowly evaporate, and matter itself reaches a state of equilibrium. Humor enters naturally. All those times we've frantically tried to fix our lives, improve our productivity, or conquer deadlines, the universe quietly thinks, "Cute, you think your choices matter." In this state, known as the heat death of the universe, time loses practical meaning. Without gradients or change, before and after are meaningless labels. A cup falling, shattering, or reconstructing, all just static possibilities in a universe that has no mechanism to enforce sequence. And humor sneaks in because humans are obsessed with linear narratives. We obsess about beginnings, middles, and ends, even as the cosmos nudges us to consider the bigger picture, where none exist. All your worries about aging, mistakes, and missed opportunities are like comic relief in a play where the main act has quietly ended. Quantum physics adds an extra layer of weirdness to this story. At the fundamental level, particles don't have a preferred direction of time. Equations work equally well forward or backward, and phenomena like entanglement and retrocausality suggest that the universe doesn't require a rigid timeline. Humor emerges because, while particles flirt with timelessness, humans obsess over clocks, calendars, and schedules, making our frantic planning seem like a cosmic sitcom. You've all experienced minor catastrophes: burnt toast, missed buses, awkward text messages, and from the universe's perspective, they're eternal, looping in a timeless comedy only we perceive as sequential. Even cosmology hints at timelessness in extreme conditions. Black holes, for example, warp space-time so dramatically that, at the event horizon, the normal rules of time begin to break down. Inside them, a particle might exist without a clear sense of past or future, as though frozen in a state beyond sequence. Similarly, the very beginning of the universe, the Big Bang, may have been a timeless singularity, a point where cause and effect were meaningless. Humor sneaks in because humans evolved to think sequentially, and yet the universe seems perfectly fine operating outside our intuitive understanding, leaving us to fret over trivial matters. Entropy also reshapes our understanding of causality. Without change, cause and effect lose significance. The universe becomes a static network of possibilities, where each event merely exists in correlation with others. Humor arises because our lives are packed with linear thinking. We plan, calculate risks, stress over outcomes, and cling to cause and effect. Meanwhile, the universe could be shrugging, content with patterns, correlations, and cosmic irrelevance. Every missed deadline or awkward social exchange is part of a timeless structure, a joke that only our perception turns into panic or drama. Philosophically, the idea that time may enforces us to confront mortality, meaning, and significance. We structure our lives around schedules, aging, and milestones, yet these constructs might become irrelevant in a universe approaching thermodynamic equilibrium. Humor helps us cope. All the moments we worry about, all the what-ifs and regrets, suddenly seem tiny against the backdrop where the very notion of sequence is evaporating. Cosmic irony is thick here, because humans insist on linearity, even while physics quietly prepares a scenario where sequence no longer exists. There's also a curious duality here. On one hand, the heat death of the universe is terrifying. No change, no progress, no future. On the other, it's liberating. If time ends, regrets end. Missed opportunities, past mistakes, and future anxieties are irrelevant. Humor sneaks in again. While the universe approaches ultimate stillness, humans will probably still panic about Wi-Fi, laundry, and work deadlines. The comedy of life continues, even as the cosmos hints that its most fundamental processes are winding down. Consciousness, too, becomes an intriguing factor. Our experience of time is deeply tied to how we process information. Without the arrow of time, the brain's perception of sequence might dissolve. Thoughts, memories, and expectations could become unanchored, leaving our subjective experience more like a landscape than a flowing narrative. Humor naturally follows. Imagine trying to explain your worries or plans in a world where sequences have no meaning. I was going to finish my taxes, but then time ended. The universe would probably respond with a cosmic shrug. Meanwhile, the universe doesn't stop being interesting. Even as entropy flattens, everything, patterns, correlations, and frozen structures persist. Black holes, neutron stars, cosmic background radiation, all remain as witnesses to what came before. Humor creeps in because humans will undoubtedly still obsess over everything from celebrity gossip to stock prices, entirely oblivious to the fact that the cosmos is preparing for a timeless state. Our panic and struggle are part of the timeless narrative too, a built-in laugh track for a universe that no longer experiences sequence. Finally, considering the end of time forces a reflection on human perspective. We're creatures, built to perceive flow, sequences, and consequences. But the universe may not operate that way at all. Humor is vital because it allows us to reconcile our sense of urgency with the reality that time itself might eventually stop caring. Every minor mishap, awkward encounter, or flub plan becomes part of a larger, timeless cosmic joke. And yet, in experiencing sequence, in perceiving moments as flowing from one to the next, we get the richness of human life, full of drama, comedy, and significance. However fleeting or arbitrary it might be from the perspective of a dying arrow of time. In the end, the disturbing implication that time may be ending isn't just a physics problem. It's a profound philosophical challenge. It's a reminder that our perceived urgency is relative, our linear narratives fragile, and our human obsession with schedules and sequences hilarious in the context of cosmic reality. Humor, reflection, and curiosity become our tools for navigating the collapse of temporal certainty. The universe may be winding down its arrow of time, but in our perception, the drama, comedy, and beauty of life continue to unfold, one moment at a time, until the cosmic joke is complete. As the universe marches, or rather drifts, toward its ultimate equilibrium, the idea that time may be ending forces us to confront how fragile and flexible our perception of reality really is. We structure our lives around sequences, cause and effect, past and future, and yet, at a cosmic scale, these may be nothing more than convenient illusions. Every birthday you've celebrated, every deadline you've panicked over, every what-if moment you've agonized over, all of it could be trivial patterns in a universe sliding toward timelessness. Humor, of course, sneaks in naturally. Your obsession with being on time, finishing tasks, or making plans might be one of the funniest things the universe has ever witnessed. The cosmic joke isn't cruel, it's just indifferent, and in its indifference, there's a kind of chaotic elegance that invites both awe and laughter. Quantum mechanics adds another layer of complexity. At the microscopic level, particles don't have a strict forward-only temporal behavior. Phenomena like entanglement and retrocausality suggest that events might influence one another in ways that aren't strictly sequential. In a universe approaching the end of time, these effects could dominate the fundamental structure of reality. And humor appears in our human attempts to map such behavior onto everyday life. We try to predict outcomes, plan our days, and structure our experiences as if the universe cared about our timetables. Yet at the particle level, all possibilities exist simultaneously, and the arrow of time, the tick-tock that gives our lives a perceived direction, loses its footing. Suddenly, your spilled coffee, that awkward text you sent, and the email you forgot to reply to are part of a timeless quantum comedy, endlessly present and simultaneously irrelevant. Even cosmology has strange, almost poetic implications for the end of time. Black holes, as they slowly evaporate through Hawking radiation, will leave behind a universe emptied of energy gradients. Galaxies will drift apart until interaction is impossible, stars will fade, and the familiar structure that allows time to flow will erode. Humor is inevitable. Human drama, with its stress over traffic, meetings, and social faux pas, will persist in perception, even as the universe itself is effectively frozen. There's a sort of cosmic irony here. We're wired to perceive a timeline, yet the cosmos may be quietly removing the concept altogether. Philosophically, this is both terrifying and liberating. On one hand, time's end implies the dissolution of causality, of progress, of the structures we cling to for meaning. On the other hand, it removes regret, anxiety, and worry. Every mistake, missed opportunity, and embarrassing moment exists timelessly, but without the arrow of time, there is no sequence in which they can hurt us. Humor naturally emerges. Humans would probably still panic, obsess, and stress, entirely unaware that the rules they depend on are evaporating. The universe doesn't need clocks, and neither do the particles and forces composing it. Yet we continue to live, worry, and laugh, giving life its peculiar charm. The psychology of time becomes fascinating in this context. Consciousness perceives sequences because it evolved to interact with change. But as time's arrow weakens, our perception of continuity and cause and effect becomes more tenuous. Imagine perceiving the universe as a static landscape, where all moments exist simultaneously, yet your mind is wired to feel forward motion. Humor creeps in naturally. It's like trying to navigate a theme park where every ride exists at once, all paths open, yet you're constrained to walk in a single, arbitrary order, fretting over missing attractions. The comedy of human perception against cosmic reality is rich, inevitable, and oddly comforting. Entropy, after all, is both the villain and the hero in this story. It drives the familiar flow of time, but also carries the seeds of its eventual undoing. As energy spreads evenly and usable work becomes impossible, the universe will reach a final, static state. The arrow of time, dependent on gradients and movement, will effectively disappear. Humor sneaks in again. All those times you rushed, worried, or planned, utterly irrelevant in the grand thermodynamic joke. The universe doesn't need your schedules, and yet, it has given us consciousness to experience a flowing narrative, making our trivial dramas feel profoundly meaningful. Even more intriguingly, if time ends at a cosmic scale, it raises questions about the multiverse and parallel realities. Could other universes exist where time continues? Could versions of ourselves experience entirely different timelines? The philosophical implications are staggering. Humor naturally arises. Some versions of you might finally finish that novel, while others will spill coffee in an endless loop. All possibilities coexist, but your perception slices through only one. The universe becomes a stage for an eternal, multidimensional comedy, where each observer experiences a different narrative, yet all are equally valid in a timeless framework. As we contemplate consciousness in a universe where time may end, the stakes feel personal. We live in sequences, but perhaps these sequences are ephemeral, temporary illusions. Humor and reflection become our tools for navigating this paradox, laughing at our own insistence on linearity, marveling at the absurdity, and embracing the chaos of perception. Every panic, triumph, failure, and small joy exists within a fleeting experience of a universe that may soon no longer recognize the concept of flow. Yet our minds give these moments drama, narrative, and emotional weight, allowing life to feel rich even as time itself threatens irrelevance. Finally, this scenario invites a strange sense of humility. Human life, with all its worries, schedules, and ambitions, is ephemeral against the backdrop of a universe approaching timelessness. Humor, perspective, and curiosity allow us to navigate this reality gracefully. We will continue to laugh, panic, and live in sequence, even as the cosmos quietly erases the rules that enforce it. And maybe that's exactly what makes our experience valuable. We get to perceive a story, create meaning, and experience flow in a universe that may eventually operate entirely without it. So as you go about your day, notice the clocks, deadlines, and schedules that dominate your attention. Consider the possibility that, in the grand thermodynamic and quantum play, these constructs are fleeting, emergent, and ultimately irrelevant. Humor allows us to accept this paradox. We continue to live linearly, laugh at minor mishaps, and obsess over time-sensitive matters, even as the universe slowly moves toward timelessness. The end of time is not just a physics problem. It's a philosophical invitation, a cosmic mirror reflecting the absurdity, beauty, and impermanence of human life. In the end, the disturbing implication that time may be ending forces us to confront the fragility of our perception, the fleeting nature of our dramas, and the humor inherent in obsessing over linearity. The universe may be winding down its arrow of time, entropy may be flattening all gradients, and quantum effects may render sequence meaningless. Yet in our consciousness, in our perception, in our stories and laughter, time lives on, at least for now. And perhaps that is enough, to be aware, to experience, to marvel, and to laugh, even as the cosmos quietly ticks toward its ultimate timeless joke.